brand new semester is about to begin, and I know this one is going to be successful. You're going to get all the things done without the stress. I'm sharing 3 things you need to know before you head into your semester. And since you're here, you may know I like to share real-world social work insights. So stay tuned to the very end. I'm going to give you 3 things you need to know to have a successful semester as a school social worker. Let's dive in. Okay, for all the type A's out there, you're really gonna like my very first tip. Grab a planner. You are gonna need some sort of planner. I have gone between physical planners, paper planners, and digital planning. I think it's really your preference. The whole reason we need a planner is to put your schedule into it. The days and times of the courses that you've selected, I'm so excited to know what courses you selected. If you have your schedule already, let me know what your favorite course is that's on there. As you're putting them in your planner, be sure to look through the syllabus as well and see what the suggested readings are. What texts are you going to need? The reason why it's important to see this already before the semester begins, if possible, is because you want to either rent, borrow, or purchase your books. So in grad school, I was all about saving money, and I did rent or borrow from the public library a lot of the books that were on the different syllabus that I had to be in. I took, I think, 5 classes. We'll talk more about study schedules in just a little bit and how to feel successful and not overwhelmed. But as far as your readings, don't feel like you have to read every single part of the book, right? You're gonna skim through. I'm gonna give some tips on that in just a bit, but you do wanna make sure you have the book. Okay, you can sometimes get these at your public library, which is what I used to do often. You can also rent them from your university or borrow them online. There's just so many different ways to get texts for discounts. If, however, it's a class that you truly see yourself going into, I did go into school social work and I took an intro to school social work course when I was in grad school. That's a book that I would keep because it's something in your career interest. You might possibly use it later on. I get this question a lot as far as what books and stuff I use as a school social worker. So I'm gonna link a video up above so you can check that out whenever you feel ready to dive into more reading. All right, so study time. I'm gonna share my very secret study tip, and you might not like how it sounds, but this is truly the way I stayed on top of everything. Everything being the readings, the assignments, the papers, all of it. So there's a general rule of thumb you may have heard of, and I tweaked it a little bit for school social work programming and majors. So the rule of thumb is for every credit hour, most social work courses are 3 hours, most courses in general are about 3 hours, you must spend at least 2 hours out of class either studying, prepping, preparing, or completing assignments. Yes, I'm gonna do the math on the screen for you. That seems very overwhelming. This is why you have your planner and you're ready to section out where that study time, that prep time, that assignment time is going to come in. Please don't think because you're taking 3 hours that you're only going to spend 3 hours on that class. It's not how it works. You'll be in class for 3 hours out of the week, physically there, learning, getting that participation grade, and out of class is where you're gonna do most of the readings, the assignments, the writings, things like that. If you stay on top of this schedule, this will give you time to get most of the readings done. I mentioned you don't have to read the book cover to cover. I don't think any professor really expects that anyway, but you do have to be able to at least skim the material, see where you have questions so that you're ready to go into lecture, into class the next day or next week and ask those very questions. That is my best tip to really staying on top of the assignments, staying on top of the readings, and not falling behind and not getting overwhelmed. When I started adding study time in strategically in this way, I did often find myself ahead of the class. I don't like to get too far ahead because then I kind of get confused on where everyone is at. So pace yourself, and if you are way ahead, I mean, this is where I would definitely plan in some self-care. I'll dive into that a little more later, but first I want to get you into my second tip. Yes, this is barely my second tip. Before you start your semester, I really want you to take time and reflect on at least 3 goals, 3 things you want to be able to accomplish at the end of this semester. You're headed into an internship or a field placement, and it is super important to really reflect on this. You may have assignments that already cause you to do this whole field placement layouts. I know how all that goes. I've been a supervisor before, a field supervisor before, so I know there's a lot that goes into this, right? Like a whole plan. But seriously, stop and list 3 things. The 3 things that I knew I needed to learn within my first semester. The very first internship I had and my first social work experience ever was in an elementary. And there was 3 things I knew I wanted to learn and be able to do at the end of that semester. The first was be able to talk to parents. I was deathly afraid of what to say. I didn't have any kids of my own, so I didn't know how to go about having conversations with parents. It was intimidating to me. That's one thing I wanted to learn. The second was how to talk to kids. It is really hard when you are grown and you're in classes and you have this certain way of talking amongst your peers or your teachers. So I wanted to be able to build that language. So it was really crucial for me to know how to speak in their language and be understood. The last thing I remember really wanting to have exposure to or experience with was reporting to Child Protective Services. There was so much stigma for me around that. I wanted to know, like, when do I report? What do I say when I'm making the report? What will happen next? And I'm glad to say, because I kept those goals in mind, of course they went into like my final field reviews and things like that, I really focused on those things and I got those check marked off and I learned them really early, and I'm really happy I did that. So before you head into your internship, I would recommend that you create a list for yourself of 3 things you really want to learn at this new field internship or even in your first semester. I can give you some bonus points for just writing down 3 things you want to learn in each class. I know some of you may have already dropped your favorite course down in the comments already. If you haven't already, please do so. I think my favorite class that I was excited to jump into was bereavement, grief therapy. So for a course like that, one thing I wanted to know is, like, what is the best thing to say to someone that has lost a loved one, right? When we're put in those positions, we really don't know what to say. And I learned that because it was at the forefront of my mind. Before the assignments, before the papers and the grades started clouding and getting me nervous. It's okay to be nervous about all that, but in all reality, please understand that these classes and courses are for your growth as a professional, as a social worker. So write down what you really want to know and what you really want to gain from that class so that it doesn't pass you by in vain. The next list I'm going to rattle off might seem a little familiar to you, and we just want to make sure that your basic needs are taken care of. There are easy ways to do this, but it's best that you do this before you start a semester. By basic needs, you may already know where I'm going with this. Yes, I'm talking about Maslow, and we're talking about food, water, clothing, sleeping, and shelter. The basics. We're going to go back to basics. I'm not even going to jump into self-care just yet. That's for the practicing social workers, and I'll share my best tips for that in just a minute. In grad school, we want to focus on those basics. So food, make sure that you are stocked up with healthy snacks, some of your favorite snacks. Chocolate, I love chocolate covered almonds. As far as water, be sure you have a water bottle. At the very least, purchase a big case of water for yourself. You want to make sure you are staying hydrated, both in class, but out on the field as well. I know this sounds very basic, but that's kind of the point. Let me go through my list. It's kind of the point to be basic in this sense, because I feel like those basic needs really leave our mind when we're in the moment, especially under the stress of grad school. So be sure that you are eating healthy snacks, drinking water. My next thing is clothing. Buy clothing that is comfortable and convenient. I feel like I have to do a whole nother video as far as like what to wear to field internship sites, right? What school social workers wear, what top thing. I have a few videos like that. I'm gonna link one up above, but in general, I would say buy a really cozy hoodie. Sometimes the classes can get a little cold, so be sure that you're comfortable. A nice pair of shoes that are nice for internship but easy to walk in as well. Last 2 basic needs, and I feel like sometimes these go overlooked: Sleep. Sleep is so crucial. I don't believe in pulling an all-nighter to get it all done. That is gonna really send you into a stress mode. It's like the last thing that I would recommend. So definitely make sure that you are getting a full night's rest. And if you are planning in those hours already that we talked about earlier, this should not be a problem. And hopefully you're getting the sleep that you need, because it is a basic need. The last basic need being shelter. As far as your graduate school program, really recommend that you get a study space ready to go. This means make sure that you have a quiet space. It could be in your home, in your dorm, at your apartment, wherever you may be, or it might even be like a library. It just has to be somewhere that you feel comfortable in, somewhere you have access to your water, some snacks, a computer, some place that you can focus that's quiet and also safe and comfortable for you. If you have this place already, that is awesome. If not, start creating and building up a space. There's nothing worse than like bouncing around, trying to find a space to read or a space to write your papers. Make sure that you have something ready to go for that. All right, speaking of water, all right, I got thirsty. For those of you that are still tuned in, thank you so much. Please like this video so far if it has been helpful. And if you're here, I know you want the real world insights into how practicing social workers, maybe you're already a school social worker yourself, we go into new semesters constantly, and I want to share some things I do to prepare for a new semester. The first thing I do is input my school schedule. So this is the academic calendar. Maybe you do this in the summer. I like to just review it again when a new semester starts, because my district sometimes will add in holidays or make little schedule changes, placing in there the early release dates, the student holidays, the staff work days, the breaks, right? In general, there's spring break, winter break, Thanksgiving break, staff meetings, committee meetings, anything you may be on. I like to get my calendar full of all those things so I can have a really like bird's eye view, if you will, of my calendar. And I am gonna do another plan with me video. There is one that's already up. This is most recent. This is more of how I get everything done. I'm a mom, I'm a supervisor, I'm a school social worker, and I do YouTube, I do social media. I love that as well. So I get all those things done, and I always get asked like, how do you have time for everything? That's all in the video that I linked above, and it'll be linked down below as well, so you can watch that. But I am gonna come here at Social Work Scrapbook bringing more plan with me, specifically document with me. I feel like I need a documentation accountability partner, and I want to be that for you. So stay tuned. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss these. I don't know if I'll go live or I'll just kind of come on here and do real-time documentation so that you have a buddy to get it done. We're gonna do it together. That is one thing, one of my goals for this year. Anyway, so after I input all of my school or academic calendar into my planner, I go back, and I know we don't have, well, I don't, most school social workers don't have like a set schedule. We don't have like teachers have the courses they're teaching or whatnot. We don't get those. So we gotta create our own. It takes a lot of initiative. So the way I do this as a district social worker, I have clients that have student schedules. They have their own classes. I can only pull my students out of non-academic type of courses. So I go through all of my caseload and see where those times lie. This is a little bit of like a puzzle game to figure out what my schedule is going to look like, because I go to several different schools, meet with several different students, and not only clinical caseload, which is counseling, but I also provide case management to a population of parenting teens within my district as well. So I'm balancing all the schedules. I like to do this during like a work day, and I'm going to share a day in my life of a teacher work day very soon as well. So be sure to check that out. So if there's one thing that I hate, because I have to cover different campuses and very different cases, I don't like bouncing around. I like to batch things as much as possible. I don't know about you, but when I'm in a groove, I just want to keep going. So what I try to do is get all of my case management caseload done on a particular day, all of my clinical caseload done on a different day, and then I have my admin stuff, my home visits, everything else falls into line, so that I know within this hour, all I'm doing is home visits or all I'm doing is documentation. That really helps me to stay efficient. I have a way longer video that I created last year using a school social work solutions planner. I'm gonna link it up above so you can check it out and possibly purchase the planner. It's a really awesome planner made by my friend Jocelyn. I just love to plug other social workers, especially school social workers here, as much as possible because we have so much creativity and this community is awesome. If you want to lean into my community, become my community as well, and learn of other great social workers to follow, make sure to give me a follow over on Instagram. I share the day in my life, practically walk you through a behind the scenes of everything I do over there. Just constantly. I love being in the social media spaces, sharing what I do. A few other things that I do to get ready for a brand new semester is cleaning out my files. I know you may have some questions about that. If you do, drop them in the comments below, but I feel this video is getting very, very long and I really want to show you how this looks, like how it looks on the daily. I want to be accountable to get this done. I also catch up on all my documentation, which I will be bringing a series. We'll see if it goes anywhere, see if I have some people join me in getting their documentation done at least monthly, right? We want to at least do it monthly. And the last thing is, and this is super important, so I'm gonna spend some time here, is planning out my self-care. So I shared that I plotted in my academic calendar what my district is telling me I need to do. That's all in my planner and my calendar. Then I make sure to take some mental health days. I use these days without guilt because they're planned in from the very beginning. And I know it's something that I need to be efficient in my job, to stay energized and to keep going. So I hope that you're able to schedule in at least 2 to 3 mental health days for yourself, just to get things like basic errands can get done. Visiting a restaurant, like there's different things that we do. I'm gonna link a video here. This was probably my favorite self-care day. I took a little day trip to Houston with my husband. We didn't have to worry about babysitting. We got our little day date done within the school day and then picked up the kids at the end of the day. And it was just so nice. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching till the very end. Just because you stuck around, I want to give you some insights into grad school. This video here, I've dug it up. It has all the best questions from students just like you. Check it out. I know you will get some great advice as you're preparing for graduate school. Until next time, I'm wishing you social work success.